Lesson 51. Number, quantity, degree, and intensity. Hello, and welcome to this lesson. Today, we are going to talk about number, quantity, degree, and intensity, the words we use to describe how much or how little of something there is, and how strong or complete something is. This is very useful for making your descriptions more precise. So, let us get started. Number and quantity. First, let us look at the difference between number and amount. Number is used for countable nouns, for example, a large number of students. Amount is used for uncountable nouns, for example, a large amount of money. Now, let us look at some adjectives for expressing number and quantity, from smaller to bigger. There is minute, pronounced minjut, which means very small. Even minute amounts of toxic material can be dangerous. This is quite formal. Tiny means very small. For example, add just a tiny amount of chili pepper, or else it may get too hot. Average means typical or middle. For example, were there many people at the airport? Oh, about average, I would say. This is fairly informal. Considerable means fairly large. For example, a considerable number of people failed to get tickets. This is formal. Significant means noticeably large. For example, a significant number of students have dropped out of university in the last year. Substantial means large in amount. For example, substantial amounts of money have been wasted on this project. This is formal. Excessive means too much. For example, there is an excessive amount of sugar in many soft drinks. This is rather formal. And finally, vast and enormous mean extremely large. For example, a vast or an enormous quantity of sand was blown onto the road during the storm. Informal words for number and quantity. Now, let us look at some informal words for number and quantity. Dozens of means many. A dozen is 12, and dozens of is especially used for countable nouns. For example, I have got dozens of nails in my toolbox. Scores of means a large number of. A score is 20 or about 20, and this is usually formal. For example, scores of people were injured when the gas tank exploded. Heaps, bags, and loads of mean a lot of. These are informal and can be used with countable or uncountable nouns. Usually, they take a singular verb. For example, there is heaps of or bags of or loads of time yet, slow down. Tons of means a very large amount. This is especially used for things, not so often for abstract nouns. For example, there was absolutely tons of food at the party, far too much. Note that the verb here is singular because food is uncountable. However, if the noun following is plural, the verb is plural. For example, there are tons of apples on this tree this year. Finally, a drop means a tiny amount of any liquid. For example, just a drop of milk for me, please. Degree and intensity. Collocations with utter or utterly, total or totally, wholly. Now, let us look at degree and intensity, how we express completeness using utter or utterly, total or totally, and wholly. These all mean completely. Utter combines with strong nouns like nonsense, contempt, silence, confusion, chaos, and despair. For example, there was utter chaos during the transport strike. Utterly combines with adjectives such as ridiculous, confused, and impossible. For example, I was utterly confused by the instruction manual that came with my camcorder. Total combines most often with disbelief and ban. For example, she looked at him in total disbelief. The government introduced a total ban on smoking in public places. Totally combines most often with different, unexpected, unsuitable, and wrong. For example, the two brothers have totally different personalities. Wholly combines most often with dependent, inadequate, and unacceptable. For example, the success of the project was wholly dependent on the weather. So, that is our lesson on number, quantity, degree, and intensity. These words and collocations will help you express amounts and the strength of your descriptions with greater precision and nuance.